All right, well, happy Monday. Excited about another week ahead of us. As you probably noticed, we are going to spend 2 more weeks here. I think it is great that we have been forced to do so. At middle school, not so much. Last week we kind of ended where we were supposed to, but high school extended past, and we need some time to just stop and soak this in. We've had some great conversations with both middle school students and high school students, some middle school leaders, high school leaders, just about what God was up to last week as His gospel was proclaimed. I couldn't be more excited about that, and yet I want to be a good steward of what the Lord is doing, maybe within some of you as leaders, within some of our students, and just those three pieces laid out in such a way where students were able to grab some of those pieces maybe for the first time. And so I want to talk about that. I want to discuss it. I don't want to run past it. And so this week, what we are going to be doing is we are going to have a panel, both from middle school and high school. So high school, you've had this before, so it won't be anything new. For middle school, it'll be new. We'll have, for middle school, we'll have our game. We'll do announcements, we'll do worship, and then instead of teaching this week, we will do a panel. And that panel will include 3 high school students who will represent each piece of the gospel. It saves, the salvation piece. It keeps or it grows, the grace piece, and then it unites, or the redemption piece. And they're going to weave their stories into that as well. Just as last week with my story, for middle school, will kind of use broad statements. For high school, they won't get into the nitty-gritty, but they'll use a little bit more detailed language so that there's not so much, okay, what are they talking about? Because at that point with high school, there's this reality of, hey, okay, what are you talking about? Like, is it the same thing I'm struggling with? And that's big. That's kind of where they are. With middle school, they're not necessarily needing to grab those things. They just need to see broad strokes, seeing things for the first time. And so I'll be coaching these 3 students through. We're going to be meeting before Wednesday night, talking through the 3 questions that I'm going to have for each one of them, and walking through that and making sure that they're coached and ready for that. And so be praying for them. I'm not solid on who the 3 are yet. I have sent out some text, and I have 2 confirmed, but 1 not. And so once I do, I will send a text out so that you can be praying for them. For high school, the rundown will be, we will come in and kick off with worship. So we'll do a 2 minutes. We're going to get started. Start heading to your seats. We're going to be kicking off with worship tonight. Make sure that you're in your seats 2 minutes, and then we'll kick off with a song. I'll come up, do an announcement or 2, kind of welcome, here's what's going on tonight. We'll do 2 more worship songs, and instead of teaching, it will be the panel. And once again, that panel will almost essentially be like a panel you've seen in the past. The same amount of time, same length, maybe just a little bit longer, and then you will go into life groups, and you'll spend the rest of your time in life groups discussing. So reflection for both middle school and high school this week will be life groups. Probably about 30-ish minutes for middle school, probably about 45 to an hour-ish, somewhere in there, maybe 50 for high school. So here's the material you're going to get. You are going to get a document that looks like this. And it's going to be my exact PowerPoint from last week. So it gives you the passages, the main points that go with each part of the gospel, and the questions. What I want you to do, if you're middle school, is I want you to look through and go, okay, what question what question were they wrestling with? What question did we have good discussion on? What part of the gospel do we need to camp on for 30 minutes maybe? Maybe you hit 2, or maybe you hit the 2 questions for that piece, but what part from last week would you like to follow up on? There's also a question in here for the Unite piece, which we did reflection and worship last week, but you could talk about that. And I think the question goes something like, how are you allowing God to use your gifts, talents for His glory. You could also ask it, how are you allowing God to use your story in the midst of a greater or grander story? Is that hard for you? Do you just see yourself as a mess up? You could ask that question a lot of different ways, but the reality is it's not about you. It's about God, and He is redeeming all things to Himself. And so that's what I want you to do. For high school, all of these questions are going to be brand new. You didn't get to any of these last week because I taught the whole time and then we reflected. And so this is going to be like a fresh slate for you. Look over this. This is going to come in the email to you this week, so make sure you're ready and prepared by reading back through the passages, reminding yourself about each piece, praying through, God, do I grab a hold of each one of these pieces? And then reviewing the questions and figuring out where do you want to go with your group. It's going to be a great week because oftentimes we'll something will hit that is really kind of stirring within our students, and we don't really have time to stop. And we do. We have time to stop. We'll have to shift a little bit of the Who is God series, but not much. It just means that we might not be able to spend 2 weeks on one topic within the Who is God. So it'll be good. Next week, you're going, okay, we got 2 more weeks. So what are we doing next week? Well, next week, we'll talk about how we flesh that out in student ministry. We'll talk about embrace, embody, and trust, engage, and the different pieces we do in student ministry and why we want you to get involved. We're going to have our chalkboards updated. We might even have a big wheel on the stage that has the 4 E's broken apart so that they can see them and visually go, okay, this is why I'm supposed to come on Wednesday night. So we'll round out the series, right? This is why I should commit to my life group. This is why I should be meeting with younger students. This is why I should be going on mission trips and prioritizing Atlanta and serving in Project Shine and all of those pieces. So we'll get to that next week. But this week I want to camp on the gospel. And I want it to really I want them to be able to be saturated in it, and to really be thinking about those pieces. And for each, they're going to camp on a different piece, and that's okay. Figure out from your group, where do we need to camp? Because we can't do it all in 30 minutes. We can't do it all in 50 minutes. So how can we camp somewhere long enough for where I think our group needs to be? And so, anyways, I love you guys. I love the ability to be flexible, and y'all be flexible with me as we shift the first of this semester a little bit, as it's taken an unexpected, what I would call, Spirit turn, right? The Spirit has kind of directed our student ministry in a specific direction. This will be good for health moving forward, for growth moving forward, for even getting us ready for things like our middle school retreat or Atlanta. And so we're gonna rest here. So if you have any questions, shoot me a text or an email. And like I said, be looking for that email that will be coming by the end of today, which is Monday. See you guys.